If you know me at all, especially off my TikTok page, a big elephant in the room has been Benoit Denis versus Beneil Dariush, because these two are quite literally my two favorite fighters. Beneil is my number one, Benoit is my number two. I love them both to death, been backing them both for years at this point, and a lot of my mutuals have been saying to me, hey, when this fight got announced, I was thinking of you.
I've been thinking about you,
Hey, who do you think's gonna win out of these two? They're both your boys, and some have even asked for me to make a breakdown of the fight. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna go through both Beneil and Benoit, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why I think Beneil Dariush is going to win this fight. Now, I completely understand the worry of chin in a Beneil Dariush fight when it comes down to it, because, I mean, he's fighting a guy who's a very pressure-heavy fighter in Benoit Denis, and he's been knocked out quite a few times. But here's why I don't think Benoit Denis will knock out Beneil. Can you notice the similarities between all of these moments where Beneil either got dropped or knocked out?
That lands a little bit kind of on the odds.
All these sequences involved Beneil Dariush either getting caught when he was out of position, or not seeing the shot coming, or all the above. Moicano threw a feint, Beneil Dariush moved backwards, and right as he was moving backwards, Moicano was able to perfectly time the straight and catch him on the chin. Arman Tsarukyan threw up a knee that didn't land, but made Beneil Dariush worry, move backwards to try and avoid it, and before he could even notice what was happening, bam, he got caught with a Superman punch because Arman's so fast. Charles Oliveira threw that aggressive head kick that caught Beneil off guard. Beneil moving a bit awkwardly backwards, threw a kick when he probably shouldn't have, and that led to Charles Oliveira landing a hook a little bit on the chin, grabbing Beneil's arm as he was trying to throw back, perfectly timed straight down the middle that caught Beneil, and then the hook follow-up that led to the finish. Alexander came out very fast and aggressive. Beneil Dariush trying to get a read on it, moved sideways, and then bam. Against Edson, Beneil threw a jab, and then a half-hearted takedown attempt where he was lowering down, probably trying to fake him out, got him caught perfectly by the speedy, always amazing striker Edson Barboza. In the Ramsey Nijem fight, he did get overwhelmed a lot, but Ramsey Nijem is very, very fast, if you couldn't notice. Then you look at Beneil Dariush fighting Drew Dober. Now, Drew Dober is a very hard hitter, if you haven't noticed throughout his UFC career. Hits like a fucking truck. So obviously, he should be able to one-shot Beneil, shouldn't he? But he didn't, and here's why. A lot of the times in those sequences where Beneil got dropped or knocked out, it always came down to him being out of position, not seeing the shot coming. It was always a perfect setup. But with Drew Dober, he threw big meaty hooks, no real feints, no real reason to catch Beneil out of position. And since he could see the shots coming and never got out of position, Drew Dober wasn't able to knock out Beneil Dariush. And I say this to say, Benoit Denis also does have a very similar style of big meaty hooks with power, pressuring you and trying to find the knockout shot. But there's not a lot of feints. Now, you could say that Benoit has some solid kicks, because he does, but with this being a southpaw versus southpaw matchup, I could very well see the high kick being limited for Benoit, even though I could be wrong, and it's not a guarantee. It's very possible, and with body kicks, I mean, all Benoit has to do is throw one body kick and get it caught by Beneil Dariush, and just like that, he's in the same position he was with Moicano, because Moicano isn't as good a grappler as Beneil Dariush, but we'll get into that later in the video. You know what is available all day, every day in this battle of southpaws? Lead leg attacks. Because we saw in his last fight alone against Renato Moicano, Beneil Dariush did an amazing job attacking the lead leg of Renato Moicano with leg kicks. And I could very well see a similar thing happening with Benoit Denis, because the thing with Benoit Denis, he has a very wide, heavy stance. He's very heavy on the lead leg, very flat-footed, limits his movement a lot, and I think lead leg attacks to him could be very effective for Beneil Dariush. And while we're addressing the movement of Benoit Denis, I think we need to fully address how slow Benoit Denis is. His attacks are very slow, his movements are very slow, and it very much so limits his mobility, especially with his stance. And we saw this in his last fight with Mauricio Rufy, where even when he was being aggressive and in a performance he did very well in, we saw moments where he was like trying to chase Rufy, but he was just kind of slow motion walking his way to Rufy. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of the guys that beat Beneil Dariush tend to be quite fast, at least a lot faster than Benoit Denis. And I think this will benefit Beneil a lot because that also plays into him being able to see the shots coming and him being able to not bite and not go out of position, because I already don't think Benoit's technical enough, and I don't think he's really that great of a striker to set up those moments like other guys did against Beneil Dariush. But also his speed will play a big burden on him in trying to set Beneil up on a lot of these exchanges. And you know what? Why don't we talk about a little thing called defense? Because Benoit Denis has amazing pressure, but his defense lacks every single time. There's not a fight where his defense looks very good. I mean, even in the last fight with Rufy, look at this. Look at this. Rufy, honestly, a lot of what ruined Rufy was he got scared. He got very hesitant because of the grappling of Benoit Denis and how one-sided it was. Even when he fought Kyle, I mean, he dominated Kyle, but like, he was eating some shit from Kyle, I'm not gonna lie. And no disrespect to the guy, because, you know, he's in the UFC now, but let's be real, he's not top-tier competition in the UFC, and he was tagging up Benoit a few times. And it's not like Alexander Hernandez tagging Beneil, because Alexander Hernandez is extremely fast, you know, landing shots, perfectly set up Beneil to move the other way. And then, no, this guy was just kind of throwing, and he landed really good shots whenever he threw. Like, come on now. And I do think Beneil Dariush has far superior defense. I've probably already said that, but it needs to be restated, because when they're in those moments where Benoit starts pressuring really aggressively and Benoit doesn't really have great head movement, which can limit the counters of Beneil Dariush if you have really good head movement. But look at this, man. Look at this. We've seen a guy with, you know, some decent power, a good chin, pressure Beneil Dariush and try to get the knockout, and we saw what happened then. And this man, Benoit, is going to have to learn to respect Beneil's power, because let's be real, he's going to do what he always does in a fight. And I'm going to be honest, man, Beneil Dariush, when he lands, he's going to have to like learn to respect that, because Beneil hits hard. Maybe not as hard as Benoit, but it's still pretty damn hard. And that plays into the whole thing where I think Beneil Dariush is very comfortable fighting off his back foot. He is very comfortable with getting pressured by a guy like Benoit Denis, looking for the shot when it finds itself and then punishing him. I think overall in the striking department, Beneil Dariush, while might not be a great striker, I think has shown more technical ability and striking fundamentals on the feet than Benoit Denis has. And I think overall, while the aggression and the power could be a concern, I agree. But I think everything I've mentioned, I think Beneil Dariush will have success on the feet, and I think he's the better striker than Benoit Denis. Now where it really gets fun and really one-sided, the grappling department. I think when we look at the slow entries and the slow working him down, basically dragging you down with his brute strength type of style of Benoit Denis, I think that will open up a lot of scrambles for Beneil Dariush. And I think Beneil Dariush, scrambling-wise, is far superior to Benoit Denis. I think in a scrambling exchange, 9 out of 10 times, Beneil Dariush is getting the better of it. While I think offensively Benoit's grappling is very good, very dangerous, I think defensively he lacks a lot. And I think that's where Beneil is going to really fuck him up. Because Beneil Dariush, phenomenal scrambler, phenomenal top pressure, phenomenal at getting the right positions. I think he's better at really settling for the best position than Benoit Denis is, if that makes sense. I think leg lock entries are going to be money all day against Benoit Denis because, again, defensively he lacks a lot in both striking and grappling. And I think he's a little slow to process a lot of this shit. And I think Beneil's the guy that if he sees the opening within a split second, he's going to take it and be able to make you pay for it. And I think the leg lock entries are going to lead to a lot of maybe a submission if he's really, really bold, feeling really good about himself. But I think it'll be able to secure moments where he gets to the back, or maybe even just secure moments where he gets on top of a scramble. And I very easily foresee Beneil Dariush being able to punish the early pressure of Benoit Denis with takedowns, because I think while Benoit lacks a lot in defense, I think it's also the fact that this is the man who took down Renato Moicano at will. This is the man who out-grappled Gamrot for like 15 minutes straight. Moicano beat his ass, and I still think Beneil is the best grappler Benoit has ever fought. I think he's the best top pressure Benoit has ever fought. I think he's the best submission threat Benoit's ever fought. And I think, honestly, there could be a moment where Benoit fucks up with his defense so bad that he gives Beneil an open submission. In his last fight with Mauricio Rufy, he looked very good. Yes, believe me, I think he looked good. But at the same time, we saw a moment where this man got his position reversed by Rufy. And if a guy like Rufy is able to do that, I don't want to imagine what Beneil Dariush can do, man. Let's be honest. And if we want to get into cardio, I think Beneil's just far superior than Benoit. Like, I'm not calling Benoit's gas tank horrible, but he tends to look more and more sluggish as fights go on, while Beneil Dariush, has he ever gassed out in the UFC? Like, this man has had very competitive, high-paced grappling matches with Gamrot in the UFC, and has had very high-paced action fights throughout his UFC career where he's never really looked tired. And Beneil tends to get better as fights go on. That's why a lot of the times he gets put out in the first round, because that's where he's the weakest. And I love Benoit. I don't want that to be forgotten. I love Benoit. I've rooted for Benoit pretty much his whole UFC career. But the fact is, in my mind, when you match these guys up skill for skill, Beneil's just better. He's a better fighter than Benoit Denis in almost every category. In the categories you could maybe give Benoit, I think it's pretty damn competitive. Like, overall, I think at UFC 323, Beneil Dariush is going to show levels, because I think Benoit's style plays so heavily into Beneil Dariush, while at the same time, I don't see Benoit Denis being technical enough to set up these opportunities to hurt him that far superior strikers to Benoit have been able to do before. And overall, I think Beneil Dariush is going to whoop some French man ass.